Hi everyone, it's Jean Hansen with the Janitorial store and myhousecleaningbiz.com. So I was on one of the online discussion forums recently, and a residential cleaning business owner asked a question that took me by surprise. She had a client that asked for a recap of all the expenditures that they spent with her during the year. So basically they wanted a billing statement showing all the different invoices. And she had no idea what to do because she says, I only track my total revenue. I don't track it by client. And I thought, oh my gosh, and I'm sure that would surprise many of you as well. It's like, why wouldn't you track what you're bringing in per client? So it got me thinking about what she's doing as far as her bookkeeping procedures. And also, my husband recently asked everyone in our online forum, what kind of training would you be looking for if you could get some free training? And a lot of people chimed in and said financials. So I went over to Clean Smart University and took a look at what kind of training we have for financial statements. And so, just to give people a basic training on how to develop them, or how to read them, and so forth. So I'm going to switch over here to Clean Smart University. And I just did a search for financial statements, and 13 different videos came up. So these are different different videos on reading financial statements, whether it's the income statement, cash flow statements, balance sheets, and so forth. And so I'm going to show you some information on one of the videos that we have on reading an income statement.
I'd like to first just give you the big picture of an income statement and define for you the two crucial things that are on the income statement. There's only two things on the income statement, so it's a very straightforward thing once we learn it. There's two things on an income statement: revenue and expenses.
So one thing I just wanted to interject here about revenue is besides tracking by individual client, that's not going to show up on your income statement. However, if you provide different kinds of services, what I recommend that you do is that you track by the different services you provide. So if you provide regular house cleaning, that would be one line item under revenue. If you provide carpet cleaning services, that would be another line under revenue. If you provide window washing services, so the most revenue in producing services that you provide, have those as separate line items so that you know how much carpet cleaning you're doing, how much window washing you're doing, and so forth.
Let's set this big picture. An income statement is designed to communicate the profitability of the firm during a period of time. So for the quarter or for the year, what was the profitability of the company? Now, what do we mean by profitability? We're really saying what value was created by operating the company for that period. So financial people had to decide, how are we going to measure that? Well, they've done that by really just through two categories. We're going to take the revenues that came into the company for that period minus the expenses that went out at the company for that period. The difference between those two is the net income or value created at the company. So first, we have sales of $1 million. So let's assume that we are a bicycle manufacturer, and we manufacture bicycles and we sell them to retailers. So we have $1 million in sales. Now, remember we said there's only two things on an income statement. So I'd like to ask you here, what are the two things you're expecting to see on this income statement?
So at this point, the video pauses and asks a question. So this is a common feature of many of our videos at Clean Smart University. So basically the answer is revenues and expenses. So now you can click back to course.
So you're right. It would be revenue and expenses. So every entry we see here is either going to be a revenue entry or an expense entry. So the first entry is sales, which is an example and is really the primary revenue entry. So we've got sales of $1 million, which means we sold $1 million of toasters. Our next entry is an expense entry, cost of goods sold. So what we know about cost of goods sold as an expense entry is its value that left the company in order to create sales during that period.
So in his example here, he's using a bicycle shop So he's saying sales of $1 million, and the cost of goods sold for the bicycle shop is the cost to produce those bikes. So it's going to be all the parts, and it's going to be the labor to produce those parts. So for a cleaning company, for example, instead of the parts that are used to produce a bicycle, we would be looking at the cleaning chemicals that we use to clean the home or office. We would also be looking at the labor cost of providing the cleaning service. So you're going to end up putting your cleaning labor into cost of goods sold. And if you have other types of labor, such as administrative office personnel, they would not go under cost of goods sold because they are not directly providing the service. They are providing additional services that would go under your expense category. So your gross profit is your sales minus your cost of goods sold. And so in this case, it's $600,000 is your gross profit.
So gross profit tells you the difference between how much did I sell my bicycles for and what they cost. So gross profit is telling you basically how good is the company at charging for its product minus how the cost, or it tells you how efficient they are at producing their product. So those two things related. Now after that, we would come to entries, and these are just typical entries. Here we have one, SG&A, or selling, general, and administrative expenses. So this company has $200,000 of expenses that were not directly related to the product. These would be called overhead expenses. Depreciation is one that's sometimes separated out. Depreciation refers to, let's say I have a piece of equipment that I bought for $500,000 5 years ago. When I buy that asset for $500,000, that piece of equipment, presumably each year I use it to produce bicycles, I'm using up part of its value. Depreciation on the income statement is the expense that's keeping track of how much of that equipment did I use up this year to produce and sell my bicycles. Now we come to our next subtotal, which is typically called operating profit, or EBIT, or EBIT. So operating profit is very descriptive. It's the profits we have from operating the company. So everything we've got above operating profit are operational revenues and expenses of the company.
Okay, so he's talking about operating profit as the bottom line, basically. I tend to call it net profit. I like gross profit and net profit. You could also call it the bottom line, and so bottom line profit. So this is everything after sales and expenses. What is your profit? This video does go on to talk about some companies go on to another page. He's going to go on to another page that shows taxes and how they separate out taxes. But for this purpose, I think this gives an overall good view of a sample income statement and how to read it. And if if you're a member of the Janitorial Store or My House Cleaning Biz, you get access to over 8,000 training videos. And this is just one of the 13 that are available on how to read financial statements. So if you're not an accountant and you really want to have a better understanding of how to read your own financial statements and what is good and what is not so good in your operating statements, then this would be a good place to get some good basic general knowledge. We have videos on a lot of different topics, including janitorial and home cleaning specific videos. We also have videos on employees and HR and leadership and training videos. So we've got a wealth of information over at CleanSmart University. So if you're interested in learning more and having access to these videos plus our videos that we have published, just join the janitorialstore.com or myhousecleaningbiz.com's premium membership, and you'll get access to all of that, plus access to everything that we have on our websites with all the programs that we sell. It's all included in your premium membership. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.